Amazing archaeological finds are changing how we see the past and present. In recent finds, scientists are learning more about communities, animals, and plants, including how they evolved into what we see today. A grave that was found in Tepechalo has revealed 34 grave goods and a woman believed to be 18 at the time of death. This Bronze Age tomb is noted as belonging to a wealthy person and is the richest grave in the dig site. The collection within the grave included gold, ivory, lapis lazuli, chlorite, bronze, and other materials that were used to make cosmetic containers, pins, other jewelry, and several other pieces. Other aspects of the burial followed expected practices for the culture, with the body placed crouched on her right side with hands near her face and facing southeast. Pottery pieces were in the expected location around the back, head, and feet. Falling under the Greater Khorasan civilization, the archaeological site is a long-term project and covers a large area for excavation. They controlled a large part of Central Asian trade routes during their time, beginning in 2300 BC and continued throughout most of the Bronze Age. Many of the grave goods were an example of the vast trade routes, as they would not be available locally, or they were made with raw materials that would need to have been brought in from other areas. Egypt has a long history of civilization and frequently has new finds that change what we thought we knew. One of the most recent is a handprint that was found on an offering of a clay model which is 4,000 years old. The clay model was popular in burials and would be included to provide a place for the soul to live, often called a soul house, and the handprint was found in the base. The open area in the front of the model allowed for offerings of food to be placed and feed the soul in the afterlife. It was dated to 2055 to 1650 BCE and studied to determine the manner in which it was made, who would have made it, and expand upon the purpose of the offering, as well as the burial practices that included it. First, a two-story building would be created from wooden sticks to build the frame of the home, which would then be covered in clay and fired in a kiln or similar, which would not only cure the clay, but also burn the wood from inside. To have a full handprint on any object is very rare, and it appears that the maker moved it when it was still wet, leaving their handprint behind. An ancient shark was found in Kentucky at Mammoth Cave, and it is displaying characteristics that have not carried forward to current sharks. Mammoth Cave is part of the longest cave system in the world, and as such it holds many secrets we have yet to discover. The shark is dated to 340 million years ago and reached less than 1 foot in length. Though Mammoth Cave is 320 to 360 million years old, but the remainder of the cave system is believed to have formed only 10 to 1 million years ago, and it was shallow saltwater, creating a very different environment from today. It is believed that the shark ate worms and mollusks, but more research is needed with additional specimens to learn more about their daily diet. A curved row of teeth was used to crush prey, and it lived within the caves, limiting food sources to others that also were inside the caves, which were further limited to their shallow nature. While murals are fairly common, a unique mural that is 3D and estimates place the age between 3,000 and 4,000 years old. This double-sided mural is carved into the stone at the archaeological site at Huacayolanda in Peru. Depicted within the carving is a fish that was caught in a net, plants, and stars that can be seen on both sides of the piece. Stretching 16 feet wide and 6.5 feet tall, with the colors of blue, yellow, and black still remaining. As another building was later built on top of this section, it remained well preserved, not only with the paint colors but also in the stability of the structure, and the carving hasn't been significantly damaged or chipped. Further excavation is needed to see how large it is in full, and radiocarbon dating is expected to narrow down the age of the wall. It is also planned to continue excavations to determine what building it is on and how large it is, what the building was used for, and what part it played in the community. This is one of the oldest sites and architecturally significant to Chow Valley, and has been declared a heritage site that is protected from the encroaching construction. 2 inscriptions regarding land grants to a deity and a donation were found in the Pan Azakunachi Amman Temple in Tirupur. Each are dated to the 18th or 19th century and reference the day-to-day functioning of the temple itself. The first stands 4 feet by 1 foot, and the inscription describes an 8-acre land grant directly to the deity from the village, signed by the village leaders in 1803 CE. The second inscription is smaller and includes images of the moon, sun, and trishul symbols. It was found in the same village and discusses a donation that was given to the temple, but the damages have limited the information that can be gathered from it. With these both being located so closely together, there's a chance that further excavation and exploration will uncover further records or other artifacts in the future. China's Feihu village in the Sichuan province is the site of an excavation of a cemetery, which seems to have only boat-shaped coffins. The cemetery covers over 107,600 square feet, with more than 60 tombs. Of the 47 which have been excavated, each is dated to 475 to 221 BC. Each of the boat-shaped coffins are between 13 and 22 feet long, and made of the same type of wood that was used for building boats, nanmu. This archaeological site was within the Shu kingdom, and the dates of the cemetery align with the power residing with the Chu state from 1030 to 223 BC. Within the graves have been found over 300 pieces of pottery, along with bronze, iron, and bamboo, including coins, seals, and baskets of grain. There are a few codex left that are legible and are able to be tracked to Maya history, including the Paris Codex. It is one of the 3 that have been found and dates to 900 to 1521 AD. Originally part of a larger codex, this is the only portion that has been located, and therefore has become the shortest of the currently located codex, while the search for the remainder is ongoing. The pages are so damaged that it is difficult to find a particular age, but it has been suggested it may be from 1185, or that it may be a copy of a document that was made much earlier. Alternatively, it was tentatively dated to 1450 at one time. Even with confusion over its date of origin, it has been determined to have been painted in western Yucatan, and is believed to have been painted more specifically in Mayapan. It has been with the Bibliothèque Royale of Paris from 1823 until it was transferred to the Bibliothèque Nationale de France in Paris. Coastal changes and water level changes have revealed a collection of ancient petroglyphs along the shore of Oahu. In total, there are 26 carvings which are currently estimated to be over 1,000 years old, with official dating to come. Until recently, they were covered by sand and the ocean's high tides. But receding water lines and currents have left them exposed. Anthropomorphic figures carved into the sandstone are representative and consistent of others in Hawaii, and connect them to Polynesian settlers from the 10th and 11th centuries. Of these carvings, the largest is 8 feet by 8 feet square, which makes it one of the largest that has been found in Hawaii. 2 of the figures are different from the others in their intricate detail, showing individual fingers rather than the simplified versions of the other figures. It is believed that these 2 figures may represent the Polynesian mythical hero Maui, and their fingers follow the direction of the sun from sunrise to sunset. Petroglyphs were a common way to share information before the written languages were developed, and these share a lot of cultural beliefs from the same time as settlers were arriving in the islands, sharing spiritual beliefs, historical events, and other aspects of the culture. In Ninbin, an ancient bed that was made of a slab of rock was found and is now restored and in place with the local museum. It measured 5 feet by 4 feet and stood almost 2 feet high. It is decorated around the edges that include dragons and flowers, repeating patterns, and other decorations typical of the Haole dynasty. Other similar rock beds have been found in temples that are dedicated to the Din and Lei kings, confirming both the estimated date it was made being 1533 to 1789, as well as the style common in that period, and that it was used for rituals and ceremonies. Ancient tools that were found in Ukraine are providing evidence to change the expectations of when people were present across Europe. Some have been found to be over 1 million years old, the earliest evidence of any type of people being present in Europe. Without fossil remains, it is unknown which human ancestors it was that created them, but it is suspected that it would be Homo erectus, due to their ability to walk upright and their use of fire to cook food. The tools were made from rock and volcanic rock that were chipped into shapes used for tools. Some appear to have been used for cutting meat, scraping the hides, and other purposes. Estimated ages for the tools range from 1 million years ago, putting them in the same time period as similar tools that have been found in Spain, or as old as 1.4 million years ago. Tools like this have been found in Africa that dated as far back as 2.8 million years ago, being the oldest that have been found so far. New evidence shows that spiders may have been aquatic and lived in the ocean until they evolved to live on lands. Fossils were located in Mississippi during a land survey that was determined to be 500 million years old. It was originally believed to be related to the horseshoe crab, but further study shows that it is much closer to arachnids. The fossil is from the Cambrian period, which was a period of intense growth, and many modern insects were beginning to form. One type of arthropod subgroup that can be traced back to this time is the chelicerates, including spider, ticks, and horseshoe crabs. The fossil, a Mollisonia, was originally placed with this group due to the segmented body, the head and the thorax being covered with a shell and a rear trunk. With recent finds and further study, it is now being considered that it instead be moved into a different group, moving it back to an even earlier time in evolution to a stem chelicerate, moving it to the Mollisonidae family. This move was done due to the soft tissue remaining preserved enough for the studies to continue, reassessing the neural structures that closely mimic that of modern spiders. The brain patterns also showed to run back to front, rather than the other way around, making them closer to a spider than any other consideration. It is this brain pattern that also marks it as an advanced predator, and shows that it evolved this way much earlier, before it moved to land. The fossil shows it had 6 pairs of limbs, and that it had a segmented body, but it was the ability to use light sources to study the brain that changed its classification. In the Ethnological Museum of the National Museums in Berlin, a collection of Mongolian artifacts is housed, and X-rays on some of the items is sharing insights with researchers about life in early Mongolia. In a shrine, 3 small scrolls were wrapped in silk, and to determine what was on the scrolls without risking damage, they were scanned with a 3D X-ray to build a digital copy. Images showed that each of the scrolls had several windings, 50 in each, and the strips that were used were over 32 inches in length. They were wound carefully and slowly to achieve such a tight roll in the papers. It was common practice in Buddhist Mongolia to have shrines in the home and include tiny scrolls, 1.1 inches by 1.8 inches, like these in them. Prayers would be written into the scrolls until the practice became rare during the 1920s. It is one of these shrines that has found its way to Germany and found a home in the museum. Just off the coast of Turkey, a shipwreck is still holding its cargo from 2,000 years ago. It sits on the floor of the ocean at the coast of Adrasan, about 120 to 150 feet below the surface. It has remained so undisturbed that the plates, bowls, and pots are all still stacked neatly as they were for transport. Each were coated in clay before being stacked, which is the first example of this technique being used for cargo, and it was highly effective in preserving them. Any patterns are still visible, and the colors are faded but present. Not only are these providing information about the types of items that were being used, but also information on shipping processes and packaging procedures. After the excavation is complete, many of the items are set to be cleaned and displayed at a Mediterranean underwater archaeology museum, while the ruins of the ship will be open for divers to view. This ship is not only providing valuable information, but also created an underwater museum. Other ships that have been found between ancient Patara and Mersin, more than 400 of them, have also been a source of information on the trade routes and networks. As the use of bronze grew during the Bronze Age, it affected how many tools and weapons were already being created. With bronze becoming the metal of choice, many workshops and manufacturing areas were moving to using bronze in their tools. And one example of this was found in a blade workshop in southern Israel. The site is 5,500 years old and was found when preparations were being made near the city of Kiryat Gat for a new housing development. Within the workshop, they were making Canaanite blades, which are created with stone flint as the core of the long blades. While there has been evidence of them being manufactured in other areas, this is the first time that there has been evidence of their manufacture and use in southern areas of the country. It was also more advanced, as the lack of waste found from the factory show they were highly knowledgeable in creating the tools, and the value of the end product as well as the materials going into them. Excavations at the location have not only shown that manufacturing was a larger focus than has been seen in the South before, but also that the settlement was much larger than it was expected to be. Hundreds of pits, lined with mud bricks, which would have been used for homes, manufacturing crafts, storage, and even rituals. Archaeologists have found what is only the second tomb of a Silla hostage. It is found in Xi'an, Shanxi province in northwest China, and the stele includes a biography of the prince who was buried there. The occupant was listed as Kim Young, who was a prince from the Tang dynasty who was held by the Silla Kingdom of Korea. During the excavation that was located only a mile north of where the Tang dynasty had their capital, the tomb was found to have a long passage that sloped downwards for entry, and the chamber was blue brick. Only one chamber was found in the tomb, and it was designed in a way similar to the Tang dynasty tombs from that time. It also had grave goods that were mirroring the other tombs, while it was looted at some point. 83 funerary items remained, including red clay figures, tomb guardians, 58 animals, and the epitaph on bluestone. The epitaph was decorated with clouds and peonies, with an inscription that translated as, "Epitaph of the late Lord Kim of the Great Tang." Upon translating the inscription of a mosaic floor depicting a relaxing skeleton, it was found to read, "Be cheerful, enjoy your life." This mosaic was discovered in a Turkish dig site and depicts a skeleton who is laying back relaxing with a wine bottle and a loaf of bread. It was dated to the 3rd century BC and is located near Antakya. Discovered during preparation for construction of a new cable car, it was unexpected and led to a larger excavation than planned. As the excavation area expanded, a second panel was found to the mosaic, which depicts a man reaching upwards towards a sundial and contains the word that translates to "the person who runs to dinner" and "ill-timed." A third panel was present at one time but did not stay as well preserved as the first two, so it is unknown what was said or represented by the last panel. When viewed together, it has been suggested they are satirical and inspired by Roman poet and philosopher Alciphron. It is the only one of its kind in the country, with the closest similar mosaic being in Italy. Jerusalem has been a source of artifacts from the biblical era for centuries, but amazing archaeological finds are still uncovered every year. The most recent is a coin that has an inscription that translates from Hebrew to Holy Jerusalem. It is believed to be from the first Jewish revolt over 2,000 years ago, when they were seeking to be free from the control of the Romans in the Judean desert. The half-shekel coin is made from silver in 66 to 67 CE and may have been lost from the pocket of a rebel. These coins were commonly used during the Second Temple period to pay their temple tax, and Tyrian-minted half-shekel coins used for that purpose quickly became a status symbol. Temple rituals continued even during the revolt, requiring rebels to use these coins and carry them with them, some after minting them in Jerusalem and purposefully leaving off the emperor and using Hebrew. Finding this coin has provided evidence of the practice of making their own coins and how they were minted. It also supports the determinations that the temple remained active during the rebellion, and they continued to perform rituals and ceremonies. As Germany is upgrading their power line along a 105-mile stretch, they continue to unearth amazing archaeological sites and artifacts. Some of the other finds that have been along this route include graves near Krauschwitz that were dated to 4,500 years ago, a burial site around 5,000 years old with 12 pits, and now this most recent find of burial pits 5,000 years old. Each of the pits that were found at the site are 6.5 to 9.8 feet wide and 6.5 to 8.2 feet deep. Within each of the pits, burnt offerings were found, some charred pots and ceramic vessels, other dog bones alongside a human skull, and other pits had an assortment of goods. One of the burial sites differs from the other pits, as it seems to be a converted oven rather than built for the purpose of a burial, and containing the remains of two people which appeared to have been moved there after being laid out for an unknown period of time elsewhere. It is believed that the rituals involved with the burials were extended and detailed in order to gain the attention and support of ancestors during a time of weather changes, damaging crops, and the expansion of another culture into their areas. Animals, and specifically dogs, were included in the rituals to work as a guide, intermediary, or protector. Wine that was found in a funerary urn in Carmona, Spain, has been dated and is now the oldest known wine that has been preserved in a liquid form. It was found in a Roman burial site and is approximately 2,000 years old. It is so old that it was once white wine, but over time has changed to a color closer to red. The mausoleum it was found in was sealed at the time of discovery and contained 6 urns of cremated remains. One was the urn with the wine, and also contained the ashes of a man and a gold ring in a gallon of wine. As the tomb was sealed in an airtight manner, it did not evaporate or become contaminated with other things. At the time of the burial, the site was in the province of Baetica, which was known for winemaking, and this suggests the man may have been involved in the wine industry in some way. Wine was an important symbol in the culture both for social and spiritual reasons, and was a common offering to be placed within a tomb for the journey to the afterlife. A similar urn that held the remains of a woman contained perfume, jewelry, and other items, but did not contain wine as it was at the time considered to be a drink only for the men. Scientists in the city of Shaoqing, Zhejiang Province, China, have unearthed more secrets of ancient China at a previously unknown settlement. It is very well preserved for being over 2,500 years old, and was occupied during the Yue Kingdom and the Warring States period. At that time, China was several different kingdoms, and they battled over the country for several years during 475 and 221 BC. It was during regular groundwork that some differences in the soil was noticed, and it was excavated to learn that it is the ruins of a waterfront settlement. As it was right on the water, it was a hub of activity, with access by water and land, with trade easily accessible. This made the city able to keep up with the demands for housing, businesses, structures, and technology improvements. Homes were made on stilts with interwoven posts and reeds that were thatched together, or similar, and wooden structures were used with advanced construction techniques. The precise joints and techniques partnered with planning in 3 dimensions made their construction both sturdy and highly advanced, not being seen again until cultures decades or even centuries later. Other finds that were advanced for their time included a bronze drill bit, porcelain cups, and pottery tripods. Ongoing excavations in London are continuing to unearth secrets and relics from ancient Roman settlements. Under Old Kent Road, a 2,000-year-old Roman road has been found that ran from the port at Dover through London and on to the West Midlands. This road is one of the most important in Britain, and locating it has been an exciting find. Until the road was located, it was unknown if any of it remained, or if it had all been destroyed. So excavations are ongoing to find the state of the road and confirm which road it is. Built in 43 AD, it was constructed soon after the Roman invasion and spanned 276 miles. Records show it was used by several visitors and visiting emperors, with Hadrian using it in 122 AD, when he commissioned the Hadrian Wall to follow the border off England and Scotland. As the project to provide upgraded utilities to homes in London continues, it is likely they will also continue to find relics from ancient time periods. Studies of the bubonic plague are gaining insight into the origins with a mummy in Italy. A Bronze Age mummy that has been on display at the Egyptian Museum of Turin has been found to carry the bubonic plague, and it is suspected it was this that killed her. This is the first genetic evidence outside of the Eurasian continent of the plague, and this is challenging the understanding of the origin and growth of the Black Plague. A study that was done on the mummy found the bacteria that caused the illness in the bone tissue in an advanced case of the disease, showing she was severely sick from it when she died, but did not confirm it as the cause of death. While previously there were suggestions that it may have found its way to Egypt, it was not confirmed, and was only noticed in fossils of fleas on the Nile, and a medical text that was 3,500 years old. But nothing was confirmed. A pyramid was found in Kazakhstan, along the Taldi River, and it is now known as the Pyramid of Karazatas. It was determined to be over 3,000 years old, having been built in the Bronze Age. Built by the Begazi Dandabe culture, who were semi-sedentary, it contains a burial chamber 65 feet by 98 feet and 5 feet high, and was built as a mausoleum. Step-like layers build up the structure, and it is the largest of the burial structures they built for their elite that have been found. Within the burial chamber was a sarcophagus, which was surrounded by granite stones, and a skull inside of the sarcophagus belonged to a local ruler. Also in the chamber was found a bronze arrowhead, pottery fragments, and animal bones common in the traditional ceremonies. The presence of these items display the status of the person who was buried there, and this provides insight into burial practices and funerary rituals. A metal detector was used to find a dress fastener from the Bronze Age, making it one of only 7 similar finds in England and Wales. Believed to be from Ireland, it is one example of how closely the countries interacted and the strength of their interrelations. The Bronze Age is considered to be 2300 BCE to 800 BCE in Britain, the time in which bronze was becoming the commonly used metal for making tools, weapons, and jewelry. Due to the appearance, similar to that of a bracelet, and the size of 5 inches long and 1/4 pound weight, it was at first unknown what the item was. It was reviewed by the British Museum, who determined it would be used to secure clothing for women, with 2 cone-shaped ends that helped to secure the clothing by creating connections. This would be used on cloaks, skirts, or dresses to hold them closed. In Madrid, Spain, upgrading the pipes in a park found 1,300 pounds of Roman coins. The coins were found in 19 amphoras and were both bronze and silver coated, all dated to the 4th century. Of the 19 that were found, 10 of them were intact under the ground and buried about 3 feet below the surface. Due to the dating and the state of the coins, it is believed that they were newly minted and stored at the time, and suggested that they may have been to pay the wages of soldiers or servants. It is unknown how they ended up buried. Images of 2 emperors were found on the coins, both Constantine and Maximian, and the reverse of the coins had a variety of images. Romans were present in Spain after 218 BC, and their rule extended to the 5th century, leaving behind artifacts including these coins, ruins of buildings, and other items throughout the country. Austrian archaeologists have found an administrative site that is over 4,000 years old and contains several storage facilities that would have served the village. Found in the town of Kam Ombo in Egypt, it sat on a hill, which would allow control to all the roads that went to the gold mines in the area. Trade routes would also run through the area, and many could be controlled from the city, also providing them access to a large trade network for their own goods. 32 granaries were found on the site, and each of them were well preserved. Each was made during the first intermediate period that ran 2180 to 2050 BC, when there was political upheaval that may have been the cause of the downfall of the city. Along with the granaries, they found stacks of dishes, which had been used and not washed, implying they may have been used to feed workers at the granaries or surrounding areas. These clues point to a quick abandonment of both the granaries as well as the city, but so far there has not been a reason found for this to occur.